Since 1986, the Tipperary Supporters Club has played a pivotal role in fundraising for the Tipperary Senior Hurling squad. This year, the Tipperary hurlers need your support now more than ever in an effort to provide that extra edge to bring success back to the Premier County. You can help contribute to ensuring that success is achieved by showing your support and become a member of the Tipperary Supporters Club in 2021. Join now and play your part by visiting the Tipperary Supporters Club on Clubs app to avail of exclusive member benefits and be in with the chance of winning €1,000 for you and €1,000 for your nominated Tipperary GAA club.
Yeah, so welcome along. It's the big kickoff for 2021, the Tipperary Supporters Club fundraising drive, and we're also announcing a brand new app that you can download as well this evening, the Tipperary Supporters Club app. Go to Clubs app on the App Store and download it there and look for Tipperary Supporters, and that will get you access when you sign up for the year for €40 to some exclusive content coming your way over the coming weeks and months. And to get our year underway in the best possible fashion, I'm delighted to be joined by two Tipperary legends, Corbett and Nicky English. Lads, how are we doing?
Hi, Jackie.
Good to see you, lads. The two lads that know each other very well, going back to 2001, always sticks in my head. Lads, so what better place to start? Nicky, when did you first set eyes on this fella? And what was it about him that you liked?
I saw him in Ennis in a Southeast League game in 2000. I suppose the autumn of 2000. Yeah, we had kind of petered out in 2000, and I really thought we needed pace in the forward line and some changes in the forward line, and kind of had a fair idea when Owen Kelly was coming through, but we were quite short actually. Hard to believe that. The Tipperary team would be short of players, but the county championships were going on at the time, and so we were due to play Clare on a Saturday or a Sunday in Ennis, and we kind of send out more SOS really, and so I'd heard something about Larry, and just so it didn't matter really, to be honest. we had to take anyone we could get, to be honest. So sorry about that, Larry. Yeah. So
the rest is history. Nick, you left an impression anyway.
Yeah, very quickly actually. Yeah, because Clare were really trying to, they were really trying to build back up again for 2001, kind of, which ultimately we played them in the championship, and they had nearly all their big guns out, and Frank Lohan was an outstanding cornerback in my view anyway, and it was a big test for Larry to go on his first day and mark Frank Lohan, and just the ball came down in front of me, and Larry put out his hand as he would that way and catch it. Very few can do that. Most will switch hands and everything, but Larry just snapped the ball in front of Frank Lohan, and he headed off on a bit of a soul run, and not a lot came out of it at the end, I don't think, but that was enough for me really. I was a fan straight away, and that's how it worked out. We played a couple more Southeast League games, and so the league was held up in 2001 because of the foot and mouth, and so we didn't really know when it was going to start or what was going to happen. But our first league game was in Nina, I think, against Waterford, and we had prepared well, and I had high hopes for 2001 actually, and I always remember meeting Larry's mother, Lord Mercer, for the first time actually that day, walking into the match in Nina, and she said, "Oh, Larry's my son, and he'd be all right on the day." And I said, "Don't worry," I said, "if we're as far as we'll be going this year, he'll be going." And she didn't believe me actually, but she thought I was pulling her leg, but I wasn't.
Larry, do you remember that first game in the Southeast League?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I remember getting onto the bus outside the old Park Avenue at the time, that I got a call to say that to be up there. But at the beginning, I didn't really believe it, because I had no experience like mine or under 21 or anything to do with any inter-county teams. So I just arrived on, got onto the bus. There was 12 or 14 fellas from this Thurles area, go down to Ennis. Hot Pint was given out, the gear inside. I didn't have any tipped socks or just say togs. Hot Pint gave me out the stuff, and I was called out to play. And I just remember that day things went well for me. But I just would have went out with a kind of a carefree, wasn't thinking too much. The balls kind of fell right, done a few small things. But I remember Nicky saying that to me at half time about the ball that I caught, and he kind of said it to me after. And the few things I would have picked up from Nicky is that he never it wasn't about outscoring 1-4 or just hitting the ball into the back, like the small little things being done right. And they're the kind of things that still, no one ever said to me before, the way you caught that ball, I like that. That's what I'm looking for. And I kind of just was always waiting for small things. And Nicky always came to me and said, yeah, you're a turn of foot there. That's what I'm looking for, the way you caught the ball, small things. And I think we kind of build a nice relationship from then, like, you know.
Larry, I remember, talking to you through the years, and you always liked that feedback and for people to explain things to you, what you were doing well, what you could do better. You had an analytical mind, very analytical mind, I would say.
Like, no, usually people would say, Chell, why are you going out of games? Like, you were bad today, what happened? But the small little things, Nicky, you say you're coming in from behind, you're catching the ball from behind, or when you turn, I want you to turn there, or when you get to turn aside the man, keep going. And it was all the small little things, but that's what he wanted, and he wasn't making it up there and then for you. I knew there was a bit of thought process behind when Nicky would speak to me. There was a bit of thought behind it, that he just wasn't just saying it for the sake of saying it. He thought about it, he was visualizing it, he was saying it to me, and he meant what he said, and he wanted me to do it, and he knew I could do it. So I put huge trust in when, no matter who comes to me and say those type of things to me.
Nicky, was that a part of your coaching philosophy, to give players those coaching points and those things that they could go away and work on? And was that what you liked yourself as a player, to be told, if you're doing something well, but also to be criticised in a constructive fashion if there was something you could work on?
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't believe that, to be honest, that I don't believe anybody works well on criticism, really. Like for the sake, not like who works well by you telling them that they didn't do something well, or you didn't do your homework, or you didn't do this. I mean, people just recoil from that. So I would always see the job of the coach as actually trying to get the best out of the players, and first of all create the right environment for them to actually give their best, and then after that to encourage as much as possible. And sure, I actually always remember saying to the lads in the Ireland final at half time to try and make as many mistakes as you can, because I felt we were probably holding back a little bit. I really never mind people making mistakes, because if you don't make mistakes, you do nothing, really. You know what I mean? Like there's no point in trying to hold on to your place or trying to do stuff that, just to maintain your own reputation. Ultimately you have to give that extra bit and encourage, and people do that through encouragement. They don't do it through criticism, in my view.
I remember being at that final in 2001, and Larry, you scored 2 points, and Nicky, it was a tremendous day. Can I ask you, before we hear from Terry O'Neill from the Tipperary Supporters Club, what was it like to become an All-Ireland winning manager after becoming, obviously after enjoying so much success as a player and winning All-Ireland medals? What was the contrast in terms of that feeling at full time, that feeling of deep satisfaction?
It was a lot of relief as well, Jackie. When you're well, I'd been, myself and Jack and Ken had been there 3 years at the time, and I suppose we could have suffered losing the All-Ireland. I don't suffer, but we could probably have kept going after that, because we would have had progress on the year anyway. I thought the Munster final actually was the critical game in that respect that year. But at the same time, when you get to an All-Ireland final, there's only one other team left, and you have a great chance. You have a 50-50 chance at least of winning it. And, we got plenty of luck on the day, but we had a fairly well practiced system. System sounds a bit much, but all the players knew really what was expected. I think they all had a quite confidence that everyone else was going to work hard. They were going to be disciplined, probably not give away frees. And, they were around a couple of years and at that stage, and I got a lot of experience. So, I mean, it was brilliant for them. I think I don't think winning as a manager, would ever replace winning as a player. I think, that's ultimately the best part of hurling is playing. But at the same time, it's a close second, and you feel a lot much. There's way more pressure as the manager, because I mean, you can lose an All-Ireland final as a player and actually preserve your own reputation by playing well. But as a manager, you get probably too much credit if you win, and certainly if you lose, you'll get most of the blame, really, whether it's your fault or not. But yeah, no, it was very, very satisfying to win it, and particularly with, there was a lot of older and younger players playing that day in 2001, and a very nice bunch of lads as well. And they had worked hard enough, and they deserve to win their medal.
Yeah, great memories as well for everybody looking in tonight. We're here as well, folks, to tell you about plans for the Tipperary Supporters Club in 2021. So earlier on today, I spoke to Tipperary Supporters Club Chairman Terry O'Neill, and here's what he had to say.
Jackie, yeah, it's an exciting prospect in that we're introducing some new things for the Tipperary supporters and the Tipperary Supporters Club. So we are coming out with new membership benefits. Traditionally, one of the benefits from being a member of the sports club is that we have draws for team tickets for Munster and All Ireland. Obviously, that's not possible this year. So we're refreshing it, and new members and existing members who've already paid for 2021 will be able to join our new app, where we will have a dedicated members area where we will be engaging with them exclusively. Some fantastic interviews coming up with players, former players, and lots more.
Yeah, there is plenty to look forward to, and it's at this time of the year, Terry, where we get pretty excited about what's lying ahead on and off the pitch. So the time is almost upon us, where the men in blue and gold will go out and strut their stuff. How excited are you?
Well, I think, we've all had the labours of lockdown, and I can't wait for the team to get back on the pitch. At the minute, there's a suggestion that there won't be people attending, but listen, it's the first game, on Saturday on TV versus Limerick. What better way to start? And I suppose we're all intrigued already as to what team Liam Sheedy is going to put out on the pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. Terry, what I love about the fact of joining up to the Tipperary Supporters Club is the tangible impact that somebody signing up can make in terms of team preparation, that this €40 makes a real difference.
Yeah, I suppose, I've only been involved relatively recently as chairman, but I can see firsthand the benefit it has. And, we work hand in glove with the county board and with the team management, Liam Sheedy. And I suppose what in Sports Club we try to add just, the little things, extra things that might make a difference for the team or provide the support to the players. So it makes a real tangible difference. And the other great thing now about the communication platform through the app that we're going to be able to have is that there's now the great opportunity for Tipperary supporters at home and abroad to link in and get the news close to the team.
Sorry, you're still in touch with the good folk in Clonmel, I presume?
Well, out of there a while now, Jackie, but obviously home is home, and Clonmel, St. Mary's and Commercials always have a place in my heart.
And they've been doing particularly well in recent times in both codes.
Yeah, well, obviously, Commercials, they're doing really, really well in the football now. Seem to have a really, really good team there. And on the hurling front, I suppose it's 40 years since their sole senior title. And as I say to Seamus Kennedy, he may have 2 All-Irelands, but until he has a senior title in Tip, that he can't be up there with all the greats of St. Mary's.
Terrific guy, Seamus, as well. Terry, I'm struck by the picture on your wall over your right shoulder. Tell us a little bit about that one. I know there's a remarkable story behind that of sportsmanship. I know Seamus Callanan is our player in blue and gold. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it Patrick O'Connor is the Clare player in question?
It is actually, Jackie, and I suppose it's interesting, that the story behind it actually, traveling into work in the city centre in pre-lockdown times. Anybody who lives in Dublin will know the difficulty with traffic, and about 5 mornings in a row, anyone who knows the South Circular Road, happened to be stopped for 2-3 minutes outside Sports Files offices, and that was the picture that was the photo that was up there. So one morning I said, listen, I'm just going to have to go and order it. But it's a fantastic picture of sportsmanship, and you wouldn't know from that match, which was the semi-final in 2018, that Tip lost, and you remember the Jake Morris shot and what could have been. But I think the respect between the players in that photograph is just unbelievable. And Patrick O'Connor, having won the game, you can see Shamey is devastated, but it's just, I think it epitomizes the sport and the sportsmanship of our players.
Yeah, terrific bunch of players, Terry. They represent us so well, and it's lovely to think, as I've mentioned previously, that we can make a difference by helping to fund team preparations for the year ahead. So everything's in full swing for the 2021 fundraising drive, Terry.
Everything is in full swing, and in addition to the new app and our ability to communicate with our members and bring them the news from the team, those existing members and those joining up in addition, Jackie will be able to be in for a draw for €1,000 for themselves, and the winner will also be able to nominate €1,000 for their nominated Tipperary GA club. So lots to look forward to.
So Terry, the message is, if you haven't signed up, sign up now.
That's it, Jackie.
So, Lara and Nicky, Terry has mentioned there's a new app that's available to download, and big plans for the Supporters Club in 2021, and lots of exclusive content that you can look forward to. Nicky, how important a cog in the Tipperary wheel was the Supporters Club and continues to be the Supporters Club?
Yeah, well, I was a player before the Supporters Club, and I started in 1982, and it was very different times, obviously, and there was a huge when Babs came in '87 and started the Supporters Club. That added a huge impetus to it. Really, I was struck, actually. I was reading somewhere in the last week or so where Tyg O'Connor in a recent interview said that he played for Tipperary, I think, between 1968 and 1982. I was on the panel with him in 1982, actually. Which is a great thrill for me. But he said that in that time period, Tipperary only stayed overnight in a hotel for a game twice in all that 14 years. And between 82 and 87, we didn't stay anywhere either in a hotel. So, it's small things, really. Some people would say, well, what difference is it going to make staying in a hotel? But the roads were not as good as they were now, and travel was awkward. I remember arriving at the Munster final in 1984, where I was expected to play very well, and we were late, actually. I missed all the between traffic and everything coming in a car from West Tipperary side. It was huge traffic, and it had a big impact on my performance. I think on the day I was really nervous and had kind of sweated up, actually, probably before the match, because of kind of the stress about getting there. But when Babs came in '87, he really changed all that. He was the county board had been under pressure, really, because financially, because of staging the All-Ireland final in 1984, and a huge amount of resource had gone into Semple Stadium, and there wasn't a lot left for the team. So when Babs took over, he was strong enough himself to actually start the Supporters Club. He could step outside the county board realm, if you like, and famously ran a raffle for a horse where he raised a huge amount of money, and that made a big difference to us, because previously we'd never get a pair of boots, absolutely no chance. If an odd person might get a pair of boots from Adidas, but the team as a whole wouldn't get boots. Hurley's probably were in short supply, Slitters were in short supply, also all the kind of stuff that people absolutely took for granted afterwards. They wouldn't be available. And the first time we ever went to play a championship match under Babs was against Kerry in Killarney. We played 3 matches I think we played four matches in Killarney, because we drew with Clare. But in each occasion we stayed in the Ado Heights, which is a fine hotel, and it was totally different. Babs had the resources to get us. Everyone had boots, a couple of pairs of boots. Everyone had, track suits. We had famously, blazers, shirts and ties. And there was a whole new atmosphere created, and you know, you might ask, like, what does wearing a blazer or a shirt and tie do for anyone, or how does that improve hurling performance? But it does actually, in a strange way. It puts pressure on you as a member of a team. You're very identifiable. You just can't walk away after the match and melt into the crowd because you have your blazer and you have you have to uphold that effort that was put into you, and that was the way actually we felt about it, and there was a huge amount given back to Babs and as a manager in that year and in the subsequent years. So I mean, for me, Babs was probably, other than Canon O'Brien in UCC was a great coach for me, but Babs utterly changed the way Tipperary hurling was run, and there is no doubt in my mind that other than for the formation of the supporters club by Babs and Babs coming in, that we were going nowhere at the time and wouldn't have reached anything like the potential that we had to do.
Incredible insights there, Nicky, particularly 84 and that panic and that rush. God, I can, the sweat, you had so much energy expanded by the time you even reached the venue. It's absolutely incredible. Then you mentioned Killarney 87, and Killarney 87 obviously evokes so many good memories for Tipperary fans. Larry, Nicky speaks about the supporters club and the impact that it can have and the tangible benefits that it can have for the team. As a player, obviously your focus was on getting yourself right, performing, but I'm sure you were still aware of the work that the supporters club was doing.
Yeah, that's any management team I was ever involved in always explained about where the money was coming from and just say the value of the supporters club. But it's very interesting to hear Nicky talking about when he started playing, when there wasn't the finances there. It's a huge value of seeing when it's not there, and then when you see when the money does come your way and see the difference it makes. So I suppose maybe players, when I was myself and the players now, they just think that there's an endless supply of money, there's an endless supply of going away for the weekends, and the money's always going to be there. But it's not, and that's why we keep going back to the people and just how important the supporters club is. Then we think we have everything, and I suppose as players, we have access to a lot more things now. But getting teams together and getting teams into hotel rooms together, and I'm only going to guess that it wasn't an accident in 2001 when we used to go away that I used to be roomed with Brian O'Mara. If I was guessing, Nicky put him in with me, supposed to figure out maybe what my mind was thinking and what was happening. And so it's great for managers to be able to tee up players together. So then the right type of people in the right type of circumstance are just in a room environment. You're coming back down the following morning, you're having your breakfast together, you're having your team meeting, then you're going for your lunch, you're having a bit of training. You can't subsidize that. That's huge. And now look at what we're looking for now is the players have been together for the last well over a year. It would be great that in time, just say they do get a chance, just say to get their weekend away. We don't know what this year is going to hold, but just say, for instance, we need to get them together a little bit more, and the finances are huge. Just say for that to happen.
Yeah, so that's why we need as many people as possible signing up. And I want to come back to that point, Nick. I'm going to ask you why you put Brian O'Mara with Lara, right? Because I think that's there's a story there as well. But before we do that, as I've been explaining to people, you can sign up for the Tipperary Supporters Club 2021, €40, and download the app. Go to Clubs app and look for Tipperary Supporters. And we'll have lots of exclusive content, including interviews with Niall O'Mara and Noel McGrath, current panelists. So here's just a little flavour of what you can look forward to.
Look, I suppose we lived in Ballingarry, we better known as Knockshigona, the most northerly part of Tip Bar Lura. And I suppose, Jackie, we had very little to do in the village, but we had a GA field and we would spend a lot of time up there, anything from GA to soccer to rugby. And that's where it all kicked off. We'd be up there for hours on end. We wouldn't come in for a dinner. And I suppose having older brothers and neighbours who were mad into it made a huge difference. And we had a great principal in Carrick National School. Brian Carroll would have been the first real hero from hurling wise come from there from Offaly. So I think the principal there, Tony Dargan, always had us out hurling when the weather was good, and we all loved it. And from there, I suppose, from an early age, we were kind of deeply involved in it.
Yeah, that's Niall O'Mara. So for the full interview, download the app, and you can watch that in the exclusive content area. Great discussion with Niall O'Mara from Kilruan McDonough's. We'll always remember Niall for many moments in a Tipperary shirt, but that goal against Kilkenny in the All-Ireland final a few years ago stands out, as does Lar's hat-trick in 2010, which we'll talk about in a bit, Lar. Right, Nicky, so why was Brian O'Mara in the same room as Lar then?
That's a good question, Jackie. I forget, but I mean, it didn't happen by accident, but it's just, I suppose, really to have a younger guy sharing with an older fella and just learning the ropes, really, no more than that, I'd say, to be honest.
And just say, Brian was rock solid. I remember going in with Brian, and when you go into a room like that and there's an older, you always go for the double bed first, and you give the young lad the single bed. Brian says to me, which bed do you want? I said, no, Brian, you pick. He said, right, so I'll take the bed against the first round of the championship. He says, you'll have it for the Munster final, and we'll go right to the All-Ireland final. We'll switch over. And that's exactly the process we had. But it was good, just say, it was a rock-solid guy just to put in a room with me starting out, as I said, and that's the value of being able to get away and putting teams there together, as I said. But that's the relation myself and Brian had. We had a very good relationship as well. And we just say, when you're a young guy starting out, you always have loads of different questions, and you'd be afraid to go to a manager in the beginning. But it's always great to ask a lad. I think Brian was 28 years of age at the time. I was 19, new on. Every time I asked Brian a question, he gave me back an honest, rock-solid answer. And that's all you can ask for. So that starts off the supporters club, organised the hotel. Nicky gets the panel of players together. But you still want to know, are the players just doing the right thing, just say it together? And that's the value. That's the nuts and bolts of the value of it right down to the end.
Nicky,
yeah, for sure.
I love Lar as a character because he's just different, right? He talks about trying to get inside his head, right? Did you ever get inside his head, or did you ever get the feeling that you got inside his head? Because I'd say, Lar, sometimes as fellas think they're inside your head, but they're actually not.
I know. I mean, to be honest, I understand and understood Larry very well, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, like you want that little bit of spark, you know what I mean? That's what you're looking for. That's what I'm as a manager. I mean, I'm looking for someone that's just different, you know what I mean? That can, I mean, very few can do or could do what Larry did in Ennis on the first day that I saw him. It's a skill that very few have. So I mean, for me, it was clear from the word go that we were onto something with him, and he had the pace exactly that we wanted. And I mean, I'd always put myself in the position of the defender, or if I was picking a team, I'd want to know who's the guy I'd least like to mark. And if I was at the time, you know, we had plenty of defenders that I wouldn't like to mark at that stage, like the likes of David Kennedy, Paul Ormond. But if I was in the forward line, if I was a defender myself, Larry would be, I'd be wary of a player like him, because he's not afraid. He's good in the air. He's very quick, and then if he turns you, which he's going to do. If he catches the ball, then you have a problem straight away, because he has the pace to do you and the skill to actually to score. You know, but that so. Yeah, no, we had great fun with Larry, to be honest. And, you know, there was times when, you know, I was gone a little, I suppose coming up to the All-Ireland final, and he's always asked me if Brian O'Mara wasn't suspended, would he be playing? We never got as far as that. We never got as far as that decision, thank God. But he proved himself in the All-Ireland final and played a totally different role, and the hooking and blocking that Larry did in the All-Ireland final were equally important, probably even more important than the points and the way he was able to track back. But I tell you a funny one about my favourite Larry Corbett moment really was in the league final in 2001. So that was Larry and Owen, probably their first big day, and it was actually good that they were going to see Clare up close and personal before the championship match. I could be wrong, but I'd say maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks later. But it was quite close then. And so I always felt that it was important that we played our best and that we were going to win the match, because, you know, like, rather have them second guessing themselves rather than us second guessing ourselves when it came down to it. But Declan Ryan was playing full forward, and Declan was only just getting back to fitness. Really, he wasn't really 100%. But I had always been telling Larry that he must be not asleep on the job at corner forward, that he had to be in front of the cornerback. And the cornerback for Clare that time, unless I could be wrong, but I think it was Brian Quinn.
Yeah,
and he's quite a hardy, fast guy with plenty of experience. So he was taking a step out in front of Larry, and Larry was taking my instruction, and he was going to step out in front of him. And they were duly finding themselves out around 60, 70 metres. Ball was going in over their heads, and Brian Lohan was able to beat Declan at that stage out into Lara's corner because there was too much space there for Declan to cover it and get there. So I always remember going around to the back of the goals, and I said I'm going to have to do something, get Larry to come back in. So when you call over the players that time, if you remember, the Clare guys would come right with the player that you were going to talk to. So Larry came over to me, and Brian Quinn was right in our face as well. So I was just looking at the two of them. I said, which one of you is the cornerback? And Larry felt he had to answer me. I don't know whether he remembers this or not, but he said, he is. I said, if he is, let him out around the middle of the field. You stay around here. And I always remember the umpire laughing as I was passing back. The umpire was laughing at the exchange.
That is brilliant. I love it. I absolutely love it. Lads, we're going to have a quick break off again, because obviously, Lara, another man who played a big part in your career is Liam Sheedy, the current Tipperary manager. And Liam is looking ahead to the 2021 campaign and the work of the Supporters Club, and he's referenced that in this piece. So I began by asking Tipperary Senior Hurling manager Liam Sheedy about how important a cog in the wheel the Tipperary Supporters Club is.
Oh yeah, Jackie. I mean, it's a vital cog in the overall Tipperary wheel, no question about it. I guess we put a big emphasis on preparation, and for our games, preparation is key, and making sure we're doing things right. So, in fairness, at the start of the year, Timmy Floyd, obviously, is county secretary, and myself, we would sit down with Terry O'Neill and Brian Maher from the Supporters Club, and we work together, I suppose, to make sure that we have a plan for the coming year. So, I can't overemphasize enough the important role that the Tipperary Supporters Club plays and has been playing with Tip. It's amazing to think that it's there since 1985, and I suppose, look, it's all about, the extra things that we're looking to do, like in terms of maybe some extra supports we need for some of the players, or running a camp where we can get to spend some really quality time together, supporting the fitness testing, whatever aspect it is of our preparation. The Supporters Club are always there in the background, and they're hugely supportive to me and to the team.
So, Liam, by becoming a member of the Tipperary Supporters Club, a supporter is having a real direct influence on team preparation.
Yeah, they have, Jack. I mean, and to be honest with you, Jackie, I guess our membership was probably never as important as it is in 2021. There's no doubt about it. Finances and fundraising are curtailed with the current pandemic that we find ourselves in. So, I suppose, really the Supporters Club is probably going to play a bigger role in 2021 than it's probably even played before. So, I suppose my message to the people out there was that if you are already a member for 2021 of the Tipperary Supporters Club, I just want to say thank you. We certainly appreciated your support. If you're a previous member and you're considering coming on board for 2021, we'd certainly love to have you on board, and we'd be delighted to see you coming in, and we've new ways about how we're going to engage with you in the coming year. And finally, I guess if you've never been a member before and it is something you'd like to get involved in, I think that the €40 membership is, it's not certainly looking to break people, but certainly we feel there's a value for money for joining Tipperary Supporters Club, and we'd love to see some new members coming along, and to be brilliant to see some people coming on board. And as I said, we're looking at various ways of how we're going to interact with those Tipperary supporters throughout the season.
So one of those ways, Liam, and I'm sure you're aware that the Supporters Club are launching a new app. What can you tell us?
Yeah, look, I think the new app, there's an app for everything now, Jackie. If you can't sleep, or if you can't, whatever you can't do now, there's an app for it. But I think we're in the world of apps. But look, I think a lot of us, and me probably being one of those, a lot of us like the face-to-face and the personal touch and contact. But that is limited at the moment, and certainly the ability to be able to run your program from a digital platform is hugely beneficial for everyone involved. But I think it will also allow us to have a more interactive session with our Tipperary Supporters Club members this year than we've ever had before. And that's something that myself and Terry have been tic-tacking on. We'll certainly be happy to push content in through the app, and I suppose make it a little bit more and bring things to life for some of these members. So certainly I think the €40 will be money well spent, and it's certainly our plan to interact with those players on the new platform. So I'm sure we'll all be downloading another app. Hopefully our mobile phones will have room for another app, which will be the Tipperary Supporters Club app in 2021.
Well, good stuff, Liam. Liam, the league kicks off over the coming weekend. How different have preparations been, given the world and the climate that we're living in right now?
Yeah, look, so Jackie, up to now it always has been about the power of the collective when you talk about squads and teams, and the Tipperary Hurling Team is no different. But for the bulk of the season since Christmas, and obviously coming into the 2021 season, it really has all been about the individual and lads just working off their own programs. And look, I'm very fortunate. I'm surrounded by a really excellent backroom team who give out the programs, and the lads go and work their programs on their own. And look, to be honest with you, I think the lads have embraced that. So look in terms of the individual work, it's gone extremely well. But really, you don't have much time in terms of putting together the collective piece. But look, we're very happy. We have a great squad assembled. The lads are very committed. You're probably back into competitive matches maybe that little bit sooner. But look, it's the same for everyone. And certainly, in January or February, we were probably wondering, would we have a championship at all? So now it looks like it's all systems go, and it's great to be heading into first of all, League 2021, and then getting ready for Championship 2021 later on towards the end of June.
Liam, as you well know from your playing days and into coaching and management, Tipperary fans, they're an expectant bunch. But what is your message to them as the new campaign dawns upon us?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think we all appreciate that there's an expectation there, but certainly that's not something that weighs heavy on our shoulders. That's something that we embrace. It's something that, I've seen enough days where suppose Wexford 2019 is probably one of the days that will long live in my memory. That when they see the team and when they see the team giving everything, they're more than happy to come in behind this team. So we were disappointed. Really, we never found our flow in Championship 2020, and look, that's something that we've got to reflect on, take the learnings from, and now we get a chance to go into League and Championship 2021. But the only message I'd have is that these bunch are as committed a group as I've ever pulled together in my time involved with Tipperary. The individual work they've carried on throughout COVID on their own, which is a hard graft, has been exceptional. And wherever we finish up or whatever we do in 2021, I can honestly say right now these players have really put their shoulders to the wheel, and they care passionately about the clubs they represent, the communities they're from, and the jersey that they put on being that Tipperary jersey. And so, Jackie, all we can ask for them every time they go out is to give it 100%. And I sit here as we start our journey, convinced and committed that these guys will do everything they can. And after that, Jackie, I don't think any of us can ask anymore. But my general experience of Tipperary and its supporters has been when they see that honest endeavour backed up by a really, really good attitude and a hard-working team. Whatever we get after that, we'll take.
Very good, Liam. I remember obviously that Wexford game you alluded to, and one of the abiding memories was Shamey whipping home that goal, and Tipperary fans behind the goal rejoicing. Just in general terms, how different has it been getting a team ready and going into an environment where we don't have spectators and playing games behind closed doors, Liam? How much of a challenge has it been for the players and for you as a manager and your backroom team?
Look, we all thrive on the crowd in behind you. I mean, look at there's no doubt about it. Like, this sport is made for thousands roaring in behind you, no question. But look, as I was said back a number of months ago, would you rather have no sport or have a sport without spectators? I think we're getting the second best option, and please God, in time, as the country starts to come out the other end of the pandemic and everybody starts to be vaccinated, hopefully we might have a situation where we get crowds back again. But in the meantime, everybody is the same. We've got to go in. It is a little bit different, as I said. We thrive on people and crowds, but I think ultimately, I'm sure there's an awful lot of households right around the country, inside and outside of Ireland, that are looking forward to seeing hurling, football, ladies football and camogie starting up again. So I think overall it's a great outcome. The GA is in an awful lot of our bloods, and it's something that it's part of our identity and culture. So I think to be getting the games back, starting off in next weekend, I think is a really, really positive step. And hopefully, as I said, it'll bring a lot of joy to a lot of people, even though there will be winners and losers, as we all know.
Liam, how conscious were you then during Championship 2020 of how big a boost that the matches were giving to folk? Because I'd meet people on the Monday and Tuesday after games, and we were in the depths of winter, and it was dark and it was cold, and yet we had hurling, we had football, we had ladies football, and we had camogie. You were giving people such joy and that hope as well, Liam.
Yeah, and I think the players right across the country need to be recognised for that. I suppose they were coming in training at a time where, and the number one thing in our mind is the safety, and the one thing that will not be compromised in our group is the safety of our players. If somebody is a close contact, they will not train with us for 14 days. Your temperature checked as soon as you come in. There's very, very strict COVID protocols that we follow. So I think that's the really important thing that I need to give to this group of players is that safety, and make sure that it is the safest place they could ever be at any stage of the week, wherever they find themselves. So safety first, and look at after that. Then once you're in and you're safe, that you can go and enjoy your game and enjoy your hurling. Because I think it's only when you're away from it, you'd find yourself there when we're starting back there. You'd be like a child waiting for Christmas. You'd have the bag packed and you'd be ready to go out the door, because look, that's just what we were born to do. It's something that we love doing. It doesn't feel like a chore when you're in one of these positions, and we're just treasured to get the chance to go back in, represent our county and represent our clubs and represent the people of Tipperary. And for that, we're grateful, but we're also, with that comes, I suppose, an expectation of how we try and carry ourselves. And it certainly won't be for the want of trying for where we finish up again in 2021.
And long may it continue, Liam, that you get that joy and that sense of anticipation as a new season dawns. Liam, I'm just going to finish up and talk about the calibre of man and individual that you have in your dressing room. I think these guys go underestimated sometimes, Liam, but I'm sure not in your eyes, and what they give you and what they give this county.
Yeah, Jackie, look, I mean, they're an exceptional bunch. And unfortunately sometimes teams are measured on how many medals they have or what they've won, but I'd like to think that these guys will go on and do great things in life long after hurling, because they are a very, very good bunch. Pleasure to be around is what I'd say. They train very, very hard. They're hugely committed, and they're up for learning all of the time. And look, no different than me or any of us in there. We all make mistakes from time to time, but the one thing I'd say is that to see the way these guys train, to look to try and get better all the time is really, really of the highest standard. Something that I'd be very proud of and witness. And look, whatever we get after that, if we're giving it 100%, I think we have to live. It's much easier to live with the outcome if it doesn't go your way, on the basis that you're giving it 100%. And even over the Christmas there, we ran a charity event where they called probably 40 houses, each of those players in twos, and called around, and I suppose they would have went into houses who had maybe a tough year where there was a bit of sadness in the house, or had lost a loved one, or somebody was fighting the COVID a little bit lonely, and to see that they went around and socially distanced, but met those people, and to see the lift they gave those people. More of them made phone calls, and they raised, I think it was 14,000 in total for charity work as well, which we're going to be presenting the checks to now that we're back as well. So I think there's a really, we're very, very fortunate. Tipperary have got really strong, they're good players, but in addition to being good players, they're strong characters, and they really are very tuned in, and they realise how lucky they are and the position to find themselves in, and if they can help others who are less fortunate or who are having a tough time, and to see the way they reacted to their community day over December there, when I suppose we were only starting to turn the year, I thought was incredible. And to see the way they were greeted in some of the houses was a special day. And probably coming home in the car, I was probably saying, my God, we get a lot of good days when we come back from matches, and maybe we've had good results or things have gone our way. But coming back in my car that day after visiting some of the houses and seeing the lift that some of these Tipperary players give to some of the houses that had tragedy or setbacks was a very, very special day.
Very good. Liam, they're terrific role models, and we're very, very proud of them and delighted and honoured to have them representing the county of Tipperary. Liam Sheedy, all we can do is wish you all the very, very best for the year ahead. Stay safe and stay well. And if you've one final message to Tipperary supporters looking in tonight, I'm sure it's get that €40 in and join up for the year.
Yeah, no, look, we would, and as I said, we're really anxious to engage with the Tipperary Supporters Club in 2021 better than we've ever done before, because of the technology, because of the app. And if somebody ever wants to get a phone call from me because they don't want to go online, that's fine. I'll give them a ring, or one of us will give them a ring. But certainly, we'd really appreciate any support we can get, because we do thrive on preparation, Jackie, and we try to do really preparation to a very, very high standard. And the membership of the Tipperary Supporters Club plays a big part in that. So all support would be greatly appreciated. And all I can tell you is that we'll be giving it 100%. And wherever we get to, we'll get to after that. But by God, we'll be coming at it 100%.
Liam Sheedy, we wish you well. Thanks very much for your time this evening.
Thanks, Jackie.
That's incredible. Lara, I just want to ask you about Liam, because obviously 2010 is a day, and the All-Ireland final against Kilkenny is a day we'll never forget. Shane McGrath's ball in, you catch it over Noel Hickey, bang. Garrod Ryan into Noel McGrath, that reverse hand pass, you're in for number 2, Hurley's flying, and then the coup de grace, or the icing on the cake at the very end, Bonner Maher manages to get it out to you in a forest of players, one touch on the hurl and into the back of the net. Just in terms of Liam's influence on your career, Lar, around that time when you were absolutely flying, can you describe that to me, and the relationship that you had with Liam?
Well, I think the bit you have to mention there is the easy part. When Liam came in 2008, we were after 2 years, just say, with Babs, and Liam could have easily made the phone call to me and said, Larry, you're after representing Tipperary for the last maybe 7 years. We think it's over for you. Because I actually nearly thought it kind of over myself. So that was the time that Liam actually put the most faith in me. I suppose maybe when the general people, myself maybe included, people that were around me didn't have faith. Liam saw something that Nicky saw, and I didn't really see myself in the end of 07. And then I remember coming back in with Liam in January 08. Liam was after going back training the end of 07. And I didn't go back, and Liam gave me a small bit of time off just to think about it, and I suppose reassess our values and whatever. But Liam saw something, had great confidence in me, told me that I was going to be part of it. I didn't know what I was going to be part of, and bit by bit, I started to believe what Liam was saying to me. Then he brought Eamon O'Shea into it, and then it was kind of just a snowball that kept getting bigger between 08, 09, started getting the confidence. I actually felt like in 09, 10, and 11, I could actually do anything and take on anyone, and I think my performances kind of portrayed that. But that was all the way along, is that the confidence there, why he had a bit of confidence in me. And I always go back to that. And even if I meet Liam after, I always go back, like, why did you have a bit of faith in me then? Like the same question I asked Nicky, like, what did you see? So it's great. It's great to start off a foundation, because there's substance in it then. So when it gets tough in an All-Ireland final in Croke Park or a semi-final, you always go back to, no, he has my back. I know he has my back. So I just think then the days of matches, then you have the work done, things. I just got lucky in 2010. I got lucky that the ball went into the back of net on the most important. It could have went in, like it went in Limerick in 09. There's wasn't a word about it in the semi-finals. That kind of way. It's lucky people were talking about it. But I go back to the very beginning for having a bit of faith in me when I probably even didn't have it myself.
Yeah, I remember that you went down to Cork in 08, wasn't it, Lauren? Hadn't won there since the 20s or something, Just when we have a chat like this, an open chat, the memories come absolutely flying back. Nicky, I can see you kicking that goal and whipping home that goal in the All-Ireland final against Antrim as well. It's just, there's so many memories when you're a Tipperary supporter. So to enjoy it, guys, you're absolutely privileged to have enjoyed it as players and to have given us as supporters so much joy. And another guy who's been a key part of Tipperary success over the last number of years, I caught up with recently for an exclusive interview that you can look at behind the paywall of the new Tipperary Supporters Club app, and that's the one and only Noel McGrath. Let's take a little sneak preview of that now.
The first 3 or 4 weeks, like my main goal was to get better and to I suppose make sure that I could get rid of it as best I could. And the doctors were fantastic in that and how they reassured me and what they did for me. And once I knew that I had a chance to get back playing sport again, that turned my focus to that. And obviously with a club campaign coming and an inter-county campaign coming, my goal was to get back playing for both that year, and thankfully I did. Like,
yeah, so that's Noel McGrath, and that exclusive full interview is available on the new Tipperary Supporters Club app in the exclusive content section. Lara, Noel McGrath, a guy you know very well, terrific hurler, has had his own personal battles through the years, none more so than being told and informed that he had cancer, and to recover from that. Just a super all-round guy, Lara.
Oh, 100% super all-round guy. And like, you know, Noel is not going to be remembered for the sickness that he had. Noel is going to be remembered for what he has done on the field for Tipperary and Lockmore. But maybe more importantly, we say for Tipperary. Super, super guy. Wasn't I lucky that I stayed around and had a taste beyond the field with likes of Noel McGrath, Shane Cahill, and Pádraig Maher, these lads coming. And just to give a little bit of an insight, like, these players will not come back. Like, these players won't come around. A group of players together. So if people are thinking about downloading the app, supporting, just say Tipperary, do it for yourself. As regards the person that's going supporting, do it for yourself, because you'll reap the rewards when you're looking at them on the television and you can see what the players will do as individuals. So Pádraig Maher, just if you think about what they're after doing, Pádraig Maher is probably the best back that Tipperary has ever produced. 6 All-Stars, matched Nicky and Owen. It won't come around. It won't come around again. There's Shane McCann, not to pick names, but Shane McCann's have to get nominated for 4 hurlers a year. Now, unless my facts are wrong, I don't think there's any other GA player in the history of GA got nominated for 4 hurler years. Henry Shefflin got nominated 3 times and won it 3 times. I think he's the only player. Add in Brendan Maher, Bonner Maher, there's a group of players there. I'm not giving them the final send-off, but by God, there's a year and a half gone. We'd love to give them every possible chance to get the troops together, get the manager, get everyone together, the background team together. So whatever it costs, wouldn't it be great at the end of this year that we're bringing the Liam McCarthy home? The virus is nearly over. Would it be great to bring it back to Tipperary to give us a right lift? And we always look for a lift, but by God, that'd be some lift.
Yeah, unbelievable. And those guys that you talk about, Lars, strength and adversity. Brendan Maher, the serious injury, comes back, captains his team to win an All-Ireland title. Bonner Maher, serious injury, back in the fold. And obviously, Noel, who you talk about. I remember watching those kids, Nicky, 06, 07, winning All-Ireland minor medals. And I think that was a big part of Liam's thinking in 08, that, you know, he knew he had this troop coming and that they were going to be serious men and serious leaders and would help to him on the road to success. And I think you were in a similar mindset with Owen and Larry back in 01. And I'm thinking about that iconic photo, Nicky, of Declan Ryan and the arms around the 2 lads. It just always sticks in my head. Larry one side, Owen the other side. Just incredible memories. Yeah,
I was reminiscent of a photo. Was it of Mick Galway with Peter Stringer and Ron O'Gara around the same time, really doing. They were young lads as well. But but going back to the Pádraig Mahers and Brendan and Shamey and that, like, they're and Noel McGrath and Bonner Maher, like, they've been outstanding players. And I think it was important for them as well to get a 3rd All-Ireland medal for those lads, you know, because there's an awful lot of Tip lads had got stuck at 2 All-Ireland medals. But I think those guys, you know, they were around for, you know, they've been outstanding players, really, really, you know, some of the best that Tipperary have ever produced. And I think they deserved really to get to stand themselves out from the crowd a bit, really, in fairness, and you know, to get into the kind of into the same levels as Declan and you know, the players, the great players of the 60s, and they've done that in some style, and it would be great if they could sneak a 4th one before it's all over for them.
Yeah, Larry, you agree with that? Yeah.
For sure. I just see these players, like, you see, like, Tip win the All-Ireland, just say 2019, Shane McCann gets hurler of the year, hasn't got a chance at the height of his career, hasn't just got a chance to get back out onto the field, get proper training under his belt. So I feel sorry for these players, what's after happening. So you're at the top of your game for maybe 3 to 4 years. So you're looking at maybe 33 to 50% of being at the top of your game wiped away, because you might play, if you were lucky enough to play for Tipperary for 10 years, you're not at the top of your game for 10. You're there for a short space of time. And I just feel sorry for these lads, what they're after losing out on. So I said, everything that can be done when they're allowed to go back training in a safe environment, I just love to see everything being put towards them to give them the best possible chance for, I suppose, us as supporters to reap the rewards.
Yeah, and you hit on some great points, because every one of the memories that we're talking about, from iconic Tipperary moments down through the years all have obviously people at matches, whether it's a cup lift, whether it's Nicky kicking the goal, whether it's your hat-trick in 10.
Yeah.
And they'd know everything was behind closed doors in 2020. As we sit here right now, there's a fair chance that everything's going to be behind closed doors in 2021, Lars. So you're talking about 2 seasons potentially where us as supporters, okay, we can watch on television, but we can't go and show that in stadium, in ground support. As a player, as a former player, Lara, at inter-county level, how big was support? You know, the physical presence of people at the stadium. Okay, I'm sure as a player you try to block out some of the external factors, but did you get off on that noise and that buzz and that adrenaline rush?
Yeah, that's definitely, like, just say one part of it. So it definitely creates a different atmosphere when you go to Crow Park when it's full. That's one thing. But after the match, after you win a game and you're meeting family, friends, or just in the hotel where we're having the food, that's all part of it as well. And the supporters are coming to the hotel, and it's all about their experience of the day. I love listening to Tipperary people talk about a game that they were at because it's their experience. I'm part of it, but that's what it's about. It's about them. Then if you're lucky enough then to win an All-Ireland final, like last year, not sure they didn't leave, the cup wasn't allowed leave Crow Park. Could be wrong now on that, but I don't think it was allowed leave. So
yeah,
it's not.
You're right on that, yeah.
So it's not the same. So you might have your memories to yourself are not much good. You want other people around you, and you express people's feelings towards each other, and that's it's about, I suppose, the community. But it's about rubbing off on each other, and you need people to make this thing work properly.
Absolutely. As part of our exclusive content on the app as well, and as part of our new kickoff or refresh for 2021 of the Supporters Club, we're delighted to announce that we have a former Tipperary star, Paddy Stapleton, on board to write exclusively for the Tipperary Supporters Club in the weeks and months ahead. So I caught up with Paddy recently to chat about what we can expect.
I suppose the first thing, as anyone who knows me, I suppose I'm pretty honest, Jackie. So whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, and when I was in the dressing room, a lot of my friends would know, whether it be Tip or Bursley, I would say exactly what's on my mind. So definitely that would be part of it. But as I was in the dressing room, I wouldn't like to be too disrespectful to anybody. I don't think there's ever a need. I think that's for the shock jocks that are out there. You know, that's for the lads that, you know, the Brollies and the Dumfies, and that wouldn't be my style. I don't think there's a need, but certainly I'd be looking at the matches very closely and who I think's going well, or who I think maybe deserves more of a run. And that's all the things that all the supporters that are in the Supporters Club are looking at. You know, when if they're on Twitter, they're commenting on something, or maybe they're in the stand and they're praising that or giving out about that. I mean, I'm an extension of that, certainly. And once I stopped playing in 2016, that's what I am again. I'm a supporter, but you might just get a bit more of an insight of how a player is feeling or how a team is gelling together as the year goes on. That's
exactly what we're looking for, Paddy.
Yeah.
In 2016, my God, the years flicked by fairly quickly. How have you coped with inter-county retirement, Paddy? It left a void, I'm sure.
Yeah, it did. I suppose, look, each person is going to be really different, and I'm just lucky all my life. I've kind of had a look forward attitude. I very rarely sit and think about, you know, tough times or hard things that have happened. So I'm just really lucky to have that predisposition. And like, I was very injury prone. I'm always very injury prone, but at that stage I had an operation on my hips, and I'd missed the previous year due to that, and I more or less had missed 2016 because of it as well. And I said, whatever happens the year after, I just want to enjoy playing again. I just want to enjoy getting fit. And that's what I did. And the other thing I wanted to do is I had an aim of being the best back in Tipperary in 2017 at club level. And I don't think I was, unfortunately. But I think I was, you know, I was in the second group maybe. I wasn't up there with Brendan Maher or Paddy Maher at the club scene, or maybe Ronan. But, you know, I think I was still at a high level. And for me, that's why I was looking at new goals, something new to do. And then I had something to prove as well. Like, you know, the management wouldn't have really wanted me, you know, a Tip after 2016, which is fine. But I want to show that I still thought I was at a level. So that for me was looking forward. And then wasn't I lucky? I was going back to a very good club. We were underperforming, I thought, and I said, geez, this is something I can really grab by the bull by the horns and help and try to create something that's really positive. And look, I think we've had a great few years, and it's a sliding door thing. If I had been around with Tip for another couple of years, I might have just been on the bench or keep getting injured. But it happened. I went back to my club, and I've had a brilliant few years, and I wouldn't give any of it back.
Absolutely. It's been a phenomenal time for your club, Paddy, indeed. You mentioned social media there in the conversation so far, Paddy, and we've got something to announce in terms of looking for questions to come into you. So we're going to give you this week off, right? Because we're kicking off here this evening the Supporters Club launch for 2021. And you can also download the new app as well. And if you download that app and you pay your €40, you will be able to read Paddy Stapleton's exclusive column on a weekly basis. So we want to, using the hashtag AskSaint, we want you to get on social media and ask Paddy some questions. So now, Paddy, that should be interesting to see what comes in from the Tip fans.
Very interesting. All respectful ones, I hope. Nothing too personal, but yeah, Jackie, I'm looking forward. I think that's the best part. Like, I'd often be asked to maybe do different talks. Could be with kids, could be with adults. And the best part for me is answering questions, because then I know at least I am at least saying one thing or answering one question that the query that somebody wants. So absolutely love any type of question coming in, be it technical about the hurling match, be it how a player might be feeling, be it what do I think of management. Love any of those questions, and again, I'll try and give my honest answer.
Okay, so we might pop on a video to go through the answers, or we might get you to write a piece. So we'll see how the hurling fares out over the weekend in terms of topics to discuss as well, Paddy. So TBC, but AskSaint is your social media hashtag. So get your questions in to Paddy Stapleton, our brand new and exclusive columnist with the Tipperary Supporters Club. Paddy, can I ask you about the impact of the Supporters Club during your career? Because obviously there would be some very, very obvious and tangible benefits for team preparation in terms of training camps, video analysis, and various other bits and pieces. You were obviously aware of the work that TSC were doing behind the scenes in terms of assisting the team's preparations.
Absolutely, hugely aware. And I think if you're talking about preparing as a Tipperary hurler, obviously what's always mentioned would be the county board. But for us, it was one and the same. It was, we're getting funded here and we're being helped basically to be at our best by the county board, but also the Supporters Club. We know that huge costs that it is to run an inter-county team and run it at a high standard. We were hoping to go to September every year. But we know without the backing of the Supporters Club, that just doesn't happen. And we know it's happening since the 80s with Babs Keating. And I think it's a great example to other counties who've followed since. But as a player growing, we knew that we were representing the Supporters Club as much as anyone else, because the time and the funding, even through recessionary years, a €20, here or there, or €40 for the years we're talking about now, that was a lot of money to give over back then when people were struggling. But they really, people really got behind us, and we're just so lucky that it's such a big thing in Tipperary, and it means so much to us. It means so much to the supporters when we win. So we were under no illusions where all of this was coming from and the hard work that went into it.
Yeah, so folks, that's Paddy Stapleton, and you can read Paddy's exclusive thoughts and insights by downloading the Tipperary Supporters Club app. So get on it straight away, and we'll be hearing from Paddy very, very soon. Lara, you shared a dressing room with Paddy Stapleton. I'm sure you marked him a few times in training, or he marked you, more to the point, physically and in all other forms, I'd say. What kind of a guy and an influence was he in that dressing room, Lara?
Yeah, Paddy's a clever guy. Paddy would come up and he'd ask you a couple of questions about a corner back or maybe a corner forward, and he was asking you a question to use it again the following Tuesday or Thursday night. So the big one he used to always ask is, when you're going catching a ball out and you come from behind, you're flicking my hurley, are you? I says, well, I'm not, no, because he wanted to know if I was flicking his hurley. He was going to be very, very good to think about the situation. So I had to keep my cards very close to my chest, because I got away with flicking the hurleys from behind for a number of years. So I wasn't letting the cat out of the bag too easy. But then as a corner forward, I started to develop then. I said, it's all about losing the corner back now. 90% of cornerbacks, some part of them, they want to hit the ball. They just want to play a ball. But a manager will tell them, look after the corner forward, make sure he doesn't score. But they listen to the manager on a Tuesday, Dr. Morris Park. But when it comes to the pressure, Paddy was very good to man mark forgot about the ball. He was end up then flicking my hurley, letting the ball through to the goalie. Didn't have to get the ball. If you picture Paddy Stapleton getting the ball cornerback, he never wanted a big wind up. He was happy enough to either let the ball into the goalie, or if he had to pick it up, he'd hand pass it out. Never got hooked, never got himself in trouble, done the simple things right. But even off the field, Paddy is very, very thoughtful, and he thinks about just the situation he's in. And you can see it even, for instance, the books he's writing now, and he's very, very thoughtful, but he brought his probably talents off the field onto the field with him. But he thinks about the game more so than going for the big soul run and the big ball up the field, is what I always thought about Paddy.
Yeah, nice guy, very nice guy. And we look forward to hearing a lot from Paddy on the Tipperary Supporters Club as we move forward into the year ahead. Nicky, on the year ahead, we're, as you well know from your time as a player and a manager, we're an expectant bunch in Tipperary. I think that's probably an understatement. What are your overall? I know it's very, very early to call, and we don't really know. We've no line of form really to go on because we haven't seen a lot, if any, of teams in 2021 due to the situation that we find ourselves in as a nation and globally. Gut feeling, I suppose, is all we have to go on, Nicky. We've seen what the other contenders can bring to the table in 2020, which is relatively recently. But what are your own hunches or thoughts about what lies in store?
Yeah, I see it's, again, you're kind of shooting in the dark, really, because it's very hard to know about whether there's any form or anything. I think Tipperary lost out last year by not having a league. And ultimately, when it came down to the championship, Liam had to actually, rely on the 2019 form really as much as anything else, and club form. And club form and intercounty team or intercounty form are totally different things, really. You see some players, maybe they don't really shine for their club, but they can be outstanding intercounty players in a particular role. And sometimes players who really play well in club, the step up to intercounty just doesn't suit them. So I don't necessarily think that the club into the intercounty championship last year suited us. I think we needed a league. I think we've plenty of younger players coming forward there that have won under 21 in the last couple of years, and I'd certainly like to see them in the league getting a chance and putting their names forward for the championship. We certainly need to freshen it a little bit, I would have thought. And, but I really do hope that the league it looks like it will take place, and I think it'll be vital for our chances of success. In terms of the others, I think Limerick are clearly ahead of the pack, really. I struggle to see how, particularly the way they play, it really doesn't suit the way we play just now, I don't think. So I think the draw is very favourable to us, though. Really, I think if there's a team out there that can trouble Limerick, it could be Cork, actually, which sounds funny, but they always can, and they really don't have any much fear of Limerick at any time. So, I know there's a back door and Limerick won't be gone out of it, but I think the more we could avoid Limerick, the better, really, to be honest. I think we can beat any of the rest of them.
Okay, so Larry, your own thoughts on the year ahead, and how are players feeling now as they gear up for league and championship? There's obviously huge excitement in the camp and getting back to training and getting back on the field.
Well, even talking to the few of the players locally here in the last few weeks, is that they've said, they've never trained as hard in the last 3 to 4 months. And I think that's a fair testament, is that to train for something when you don't know when you're going to be playing. So it just goes to show their mindset. So if you're asking me about the year ahead, so Tip have 5 league games in 6 weeks. So if I was the manager of Tipperary, I'd use them 5 games as challenge matches. And I'd find out what I have going in then to the championship. So I would use them as 15 on 15 challenge games to find out exactly what you have. And as Nicky said, given a few of the younger players, or the guys maybe that haven't been substantial, just say starting is, I'd know then, because you don't know what you have. They missed out in the league last year. So just to find a little bit more, and people are going to go into championship games. Now, I think the very same as what Nicky's in. Limerick are ahead of the pack, and we've said it last year. We're saying it again this year. But their style of play of how they move the ball through the lines, man off the shoulder, their hand passing, the kind of just a bit of togetherness, and they have that old cockiness that I'd never seen until this Limerick team came around, of cockiness together. They don't mind making mistakes. They're picking up the loose ball and they're working hard and they believe in their system. And even the way that they talk after the games, their manager talks and the players talk, you're just envy of what they're after create.
Yeah, interesting times ahead, folks. And we look forward with interest to what the 2021 season has in store. So Nicky English and Lara Corbett, that's about it for this evening. Thanks for coming on the show as we look forward to 2021. The launch of the Tipperary Supporters Club fundraising drive. Don't forget, you can also download the new app as well. Follow our social media channels as well for all of the latest information from the Tipperary Supporters Club. So ladies and gentlemen, it costs €40 to sign up to Tipperary Supporters Club. Please do and assist the team's preparation in the year ahead. Lara and Nicky, thanks a million.
Thanks,
Jackie.
Thanks, Nicky.
All right. See you, Lara. Bye-bye.
This year, the Tipperary hurlers need your support now more than ever in an effort to provide that extra edge to bring success back to the Premier County. Become a member of the Tipperary Supporters Club on Clubs app to avail of exclusive member benefits and be in with a chance of winning €1,000 for you and €1,000 for your nominated Tipperary GAA club.